Hello, this is Steve from Beaute's Leatherworks. Today's projects. There's going to be more than one pair of shoes today. We're going to do some ladies repairs. Basically, we're going to do some sole guards. Sole guards are your thin rubber soles that we apply to the bottom of the shoes to protect the soles. Now, they come in different colors, they come in different textures, different brands. Some people call this job a toppy. They're adding a toppy on the bottom of the shoes. Well, that's not correct. Toppy is a brand, okay? This is basically the Toppy brand. See if you can read that, Toppy. Okay, it's some people call it sole guards, sole protectors, but it's not called putting on a toppy. Toppy is the brand name. So you got Toppy, you've got Vibram. Okay, now Vibram makes tons of colors. There's orange, there's blue, there's red, there's pink, there's purple, there's gray. I mean, it's just about any colors that you can imagine, they have it. There's also Svig, it's a SVIG, it's an Italian product. It's got like a crinkle finish on this one. This is called the Crispino. This is pretty popular. I like it. Now they have some with where it doesn't have that much of a pattern. It's like a pyramid shape if you really look real close to it. Then there's Casale. Casale is an Italian product also, where they do the mirror. This is called a mirror shine or mirror gloss, mirror sole. That's what it is. Now the Christian Louboutin shoes, this is pretty famous because most customers want to keep it the same shiny surface as what it came with. Now this is a pretty bad example of a Christian Louboutin shoe. It is a CL shoe, okay, but this has been through hell and back and then some. It's one of the customer's favorite shoes. She's worn this for many years, and I've repaired this many times. It seems like after I get done with it, it looks very nice, but when it comes back, it looks pretty something like that. So we're going to make that look good. So on this particular one, we're going to use this sole right here, the shiny sole. Okay. Now we've got Mephistos here. We're going to do the similar sole on the bottom, a little bit thicker sole on this one. Now this Prada right here, unfortunately, it's seen its better days. It's been repaired before, but the problem is the repair wasn't bad, but the original sole was a polyurethane sole. It just literally gave away right at the seam there. So we're going to do a full sole on this one. Okay. We've got some Rachel Comeys. Again, this is fairly brand new. We're going to put that thin rubber sole. Maybe we'll put a similar color like that. We've got a couple of Jimmy Choos. We're going to protect the uppers here. We're going to put some tape on them just so we don't mess it up. Quesadilla. I'm pronouncing that right. See, most of the time leather is a good sole, but when it gets wet, it wears out fast. So that thin rubber on top of it will protect it, make it last longer. Now this one, I mean, it's as you can see, this used to be a heel here. Okay. Now, not only does it look bad, but this is not good for your back because you don't have a balanced surface to step on, and you start kind of rolling over on the heel, and it affects everything about your legs, about your hips. It's not very good to walk on this way. So when that top lift wears off, if you want to keep the shoes, you have to replace that so it doesn't, so your feet don't get sore and doesn't hurt your back. So basically we're going to build these up here to level the surface before we put a lift on them. And those are all the projects for today. All right, let's get started. Now this one we're going to have to get a little creative because basically it's got a plastic base, okay? And then it's got a thin veneer which appears to be some sort of a wood or bamboo or something, I can't tell. areas that are missing, we're going to have to fill those in. Okay? We'll fill them in with some leather pieces and stain them a little bit to try to blend that in with that. Now, over time of putting heels on, whenever it's worn down that bad, you've got to sand that down a little bit to level the surface. Over time, this height changes. Okay? Now, after a while, the shoe is kind of off balance a little bit. So the heel's a little low. So what needs to be done now, I'm going to have to raise the heel a little bit. Maybe get a piece of leather. Let's see. Not this particular one, but I'm just giving you an idea. Raise that heel up like that from about midway to the back. Just to kind of raise that up a little bit, maybe about 1/4 inch or so. But now the issue is, though, you've got all these horizontal lines, vertical lines going this way, and then you're going to put a piece horizontal going this way. Now that's not going to look good after it gets done, so we got to get a little creative, maybe continue those marks on the new piece of leather to kind of try to hide that horizontal line. But I think if you do both of them the same, it'll look like some sort of pattern. It'll be much better than what we have now. So we'll see how it goes. Let's continue. You know, at times I make mistakes with jobs. This one, for example, I was doing a blind stitch on one of my videos. You guys might remember that it kind of cut accidentally. I had to replace the sole. So I saved the sole because it's still a good leather piece. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut that piece of leather for this pair right here. Okay, so we do recycle things. This is, you know, we call ourselves like the ultimate recycler. So some of the soles that we make a mistake on, especially the JR soles, they're still good durable leather. So we'll salvage that. We'll cut a piece to raise that heel. All right, let's continue. We have different shapes of lasts for men's shoes, ladies' shoes, high heels. So this just simply comes off and we put another one on. Now for pointy toes, right? So we can't, you know, hammer when we're hammering sole on. It's hollow right there. There's nothing there. It doesn't extend to the toe. Then we have something like this. See, this goes all the way to the toe. So when you're hammering it, it hits the last. Isn't that cool? Just thought I'd share with you guys. Alright. Now this type of material usually has a shelf life, maybe about 5 years, sometimes 8 years. This polyurethane stuff, and it just starts falling apart and crumbling. So they actually did the sole okay, the repair okay. It's not a very good material that they used, but the job itself was a not bad job. But you're putting a sole on a crumbling base, and even though this is good job, that base comes apart and you're stuck with, and it just falls apart. See? And this is Prada. I mean, don't let the name fool you, right? Now, some manufacturers will cut corners, even though they have a good name, you know? I don't think that they expect the, you know, consumer to hold on to the item for that long, I guess. I don't know. But it's definitely an inferior product on the bottom of the sole here when it falls apart like that. I mean, you shouldn't be able to just, you shouldn't be able to do that. Look at that. You know, that's not good. But it happens. I mean, it is an old shoe. You gotta, you know. But still, I mean, it shouldn't fall apart like that. So the heel is secured on with some nails and a screw. You guys see that screw? Right in the middle there. It's kind of common to do that. if I can remove that screw now. I'm not going to remove the whole heel block. I'm just going to lift it up a little bit so I can slide the new sole underneath it, just on the edge there. Sometimes I'll remove them, but these heels are my kryptonite. Okay. I don't know why, but I'm not comfortable with removing the heel and then nailing it back. It's just I'm just not comfortable with doing that job, and I try to shy away from that as much as I can. I mean, can I do it? Yes, I can do it, but it's not a comfortable feeling. It's out of my comfort zone, you know. And some of my friends who are, you know, that I talk to, they're like they're amazed at the stuff that comes out of the shop, but when it comes to heels like that, I just cannot. I'm not comfortable. I just, you know, I'm just not comfortable at doing it. So I'm just going to raise that up just a little bit like that. And then we'll slide the sole, we'll thin it out on the edge. We'll slide it right underneath there, and then push the heel back down, and then it'll be okay. I think once it gets done, it'll look pretty good, clean and polished up. We'll make it look like almost like new. All right, let's continue. All right, so when it comes to, you know, sole guards, the idea is that when you're putting a sole on, you're not really supposed to see it past this curve right here. So like visually this way, should stop about right at the bend of the sole. Some people bring it way over here. I mean, you can do whatever you want, right? It's just kind of, it looks a little better having it not visible. Besides, you don't wear the shoe here at the shank. You wear it right about right there or so. Okay. Now some people do a straight line. I do a lot of different ways. This one I'm going to do a curve, right? Semi-curve. So it's just going to come about like that. Curve is a little bit more harder to do. Some people are good at it, some people aren't. I mean, it just takes practice. This particular one right here, you know, whenever there's a name on the bottom, I try to salvage that, right? I don't know why. It's just aesthetics. It's nothing really big deal. This is the reverse curve, where the name is still visible on the sole. Now, if the name was here, yeah, of course I would cover it up, because that's where you need to protect the wear, right? So that looks okay on this one. Most of my sole guards, I like to do them curved. I think it gives it a little more elegant look. Now, whenever you have a shoe that it's kind of semi-dirty here, okay, I clean that up. These aren't too bad. I will clean these up a little bit because, again, it's just aesthetics. I lightly sand it right here, and then I score that right there. When the sole comes on, it's nice and clean. Okay, there's no really bump there. The transition of the rubber to the leather. You need to kind of have the sole and the new sole and the leather sole come like this, and not be on top of it. Again, it's all aesthetics, right? You can do whatever you want. You can put it right here. You can put it right there. You know, that's up to you. Your name is on your job. Okay, you figure that out when you get the job done. So I prefer it nice and clean looking. Okay, even though some customers don't know the difference, which is fine. It's not a big deal. It's not their business. But there's a lot of them who wear these nice quality shoes, notice the little details, and they always appreciate it. All right, let's continue. All right, so once we've got the sole marked, we take our knife now. You got to be careful here, okay, because you can't score it too deep or you're going to cut the shoe in half. Okay. Now I'm doing this with the camera right in my face. There you go. So what you did was you took a little bit of a piece out, right? So what happens is that we're gonna sand the edge of the sole also, okay, to thin that out. So when this comes together like that, it's a very smooth transition. There's nothing sticking up to catch that. Not that it will catch it as you're wearing it, but visually wise I'm talking about, right? Now once that's scored underneath to make that half the thickness, that'll be perfect. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so we've got the piece of leather on the base here. Okay. Now basically what we're going to try to do is we're going to sand the surface, try to blend that piece in together, and then re-dye everything. There you are. So we're going to try to stain that now and see if we can get that looking like the rest of it. Alright, let's continue. coming along. We'll blend that in a little bit better. Wait till it dries. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so once we sanded the soles, put some glue on it. Masters all-purpose cement. Good people. Oh. And you guys know what time it is, right? Hammer time. Hammer time. I crack myself up sometimes. Look, if we can't laugh at our own jokes, what good is life? You know? Everybody's too serious these days. You guys gotta relax a little bit and laugh. Laugh, eat, drink. That's what life is all about. A lot of sad news every day. Sometimes we forget we're so lucky. I know we have to remind ourselves that sometimes, but we are lucky. There's a lot of people who are much worse shape than we are. Well, I am. I don't know about you guys, but the point is, enjoy life, because we never know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's funny how we don't think about that, right? We don't think about something that could go wrong until something goes wrong. Then we start talking, oh, you better enjoy life while it's here, while we have it. It's unfortunate that we don't think about life like that all the time. We wait till something tragic happens, and then we realize that, hey man, life's too short. Anyway, enough about preaching about life. To each his own. So let's get back to these shoes. So as you can see, we're simply hammering them on there. We glued them, we waited for about 15 minutes. Let the glue get tacky a little bit. Sometimes the last comes off the shoe, falls down. No, I'm not going to cut that out. I'm going to keep that in there. Just checking the edges here to see if there's any air pockets. If I didn't forget to hammer down. Looks okay. Now, what some people do when they're cutting this in, right? They'll put a piece of tape across here. I see where you guys are saying that the soles are kind of washed because of so much light. Now that I see it. Okay, it's there. Here. Okay. So what some people do is that they'll put a piece of tape across the shank right there. They'll cut it, leave the tape there, glue it, and then peel it off, right? It's okay. I've done that sometimes too, but this time I didn't do that. Just really careful not to get the glue over the edge of the sole. Again, everything is aesthetics, right? The way I see it, that is that you're putting your name on the job, and you better do a good job if you want it to say good things about you. Everybody does different, you know. This is just the way I do it. I don't tape all the shoes, right? I tape, you know, most of them. Like for example, this one doesn't need taping, right? I mean, all of these, both pairs of Jimmy Choos, especially they're suede, you know. You've got to protect it. You've got to protect so nothing gets on the uppers. You can't have any stains on these, especially this pink one. Wow. I mean, if you screw it up, man, it's very difficult to take the stain off a pink suede. If it's darker, you can kind of manage with it, you know, but light color suede like this, good luck. I mean, my hands are a little dirty, but it's not bad. It's not bad for it to stain it. Besides, once I'm done with the shoe, I'll go ahead and I'll brush them up. I'll brush them up and spray some water repellent on there, just to protect it. I mean, the customer didn't really ask for it. I just do it because it'll be good for a shoe, you know. This curve right here that I was telling you guys about, you know, this one's a bit off. I don't know how the hell that happened. I call this the D curve because it's like shaped like a D, you know, and you know, Dudaklian being my last name, so I picked that up. I guess I coined that phrase, I don't know. And then the other one is the reverse D. Now the good thing about this, the rubber sole, is that you can kind of maneuver it a little bit, even though if your angle is a little bit, if the sole and the cut are not 100%, you can kind of stretch and put the sole where it's supposed to be in that groove, just like this one here. That one was a little bit off, but once I get done, you won't tell. Beautiful. Beautiful. So I use different kinds of soles and different kinds of colors for different kinds of shoes. Sometimes customers don't really care what color you put on the bottom, and other times, you know, they want to be a little lighter or similar color to whatever they had. So this particular one was, we chose it to be a little bit lighter than the other ones. So it really depends. Like I showed you guys earlier, there's lots of different colors. Lots of shapes, patterns. But it's hard to, I try not to give the customer too many choices, you know, because it's not that important. Well, it is, but it's not that important. Now, you don't want to give a customer like 10 choices and confuse them, you know, more. Just basically give them a color or two or three. They're all good. I mean, anything that we recommend would work just fine. You're not leading them in a wrong path. It's just that, you know, some people have different tastes. Cool. So, for example, this one is kind of similar color as the sole. Not the pattern, obviously. Just the sole. I mean the heel. You know what I mean. Alright, that's enough of hammering. I could go on all day, but we'll continue. Let's continue. Alright, let's continue. That didn't get off. Alright, let me try it again. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so let's talk about this real quick, right? These boots. Now, this was done before, okay? Somebody put some soles on here. Okay, but unfortunately it wasn't done very good. When this soles originally, it was stitched on. Okay, let me show you real quick. Okay, that's the sole that they put on, right? Looks like there's another sole underneath it. Then you've got the leather sole that's underneath that. You see those stitches right here? So what this repair looks like, they kept this old sole on, sanded that down. Why? So they wouldn't break the stitches when they should have been done properly, because they have to restitch it again. So they took a little shortcut. They left that thin sole on, sanded the surface, didn't touch the stitches, and put this on top. Well, it's not supposed to be done that way. So we took 2 of those layers off, sanded those off. All right. Now we get to properly put a little, groove right here for the new sole, and then we'll go ahead and restitch this first. Then we'll put our sole on top of it. Now about the heels. Now most of the time, these are called skived leather. Okay, skived pieces. So when we run the soles through the machine, it cuts, it bevels the edges, and this is what's left of it. This is a little small piece of it. Now, sometimes what people will do, I've done it in the past too, we'll layer a couple of them like this until this surface is smooth and level, I should say, and then sand this flush, right? Now, the only issue with that is that you've got the pattern of layers of pattern, like lines like this, okay, horizontal lines. Now all of a sudden you've got these lines now that you just added in there, which is not, you're going to see it. No matter how good you sand that, you will still see it. Okay, so instead of building that up, what we're going to do, we're going to take 3 layers off. I've got lots of leather pieces. Okay, we're going to take layers off and then just put all new, 3 layers of new leather. So what that's going to do is that basically you're going to have the horizontal lines continue, and you're not going to be able to tell that the heel was worn down that much. Okay. Now this is a little bit of this one's a little bit more work this way. If it was a smaller piece, I would have added that on there and been done with it, but I would have had to put about 3-4 layers of that angled leather to build that up to level it, and you're still going to see that. Those lines are not going to look good at all. Okay. All right, let's continue. All right, so let me show you how far I've gotten on these. And that's what the heel block should look like. So you see the light area right there? Those are all the new leathers. So once it gets done, all the lines are horizontal. There's no angle or lines or vertical or whatever. So now originally what I wanted to do was, when I removed the sole, I wanted to replace the sole with something similar to this. It's a Vibram sole, which is similar thickness as what she had on before. Okay, but unfortunately when I took that off, noticed that there was another layer on there, sanded that down. So now if I put this on there, it might be a little too thin because I removed a lot of it off. So basically we had a change of plans. We are going to put this material on. This is called the GTO crosshatch, which is a little bit thicker than the Vibram one. Okay, and then I was going to stitch it first, and then I was going to glue this on top, but kind of change your plans a little bit. I'm going to glue it and I'm going to stitch everything together. Now this is called a Blake stitched sole, which means that it comes from the inside of the shoe and stitch. Okay, so basically we need to remove the sock liner that's in there, and we did, and this is what it looked like. Okay, so I got to replace that. I can't, no way I can reuse that and put that back. So what happens is you stitch the sole and then you put this on top. The leather piece inside is on top of the stitches so it doesn't rub your foot. Okay? If it's a Goodyear welted stitched, it's usually stitched from the outside. It's called an outsole stitching. Okay? This is not a Goodyear. This is basically a Blake stitched. Now, we're coming along good with the Christian Louboutin shoes. Okay, slowly but surely. Most of the soles have been glued, hammered, trimmed. This particular sandal got a GTO sole also. Okay, so everything's ready to be kind of sanded down. This is a pair of Aldos, by the way. Not very expensive, but you know what? It's a customer's favorite shoe, so we're going to work on it anyway. This got the Svig Crispino pattern. So it's getting there slowly but surely. Now I got to get back to the brown pair. So we'll start this one and then we'll continue with the rest of them. All right, let's continue. She is stitched together. Cool. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so now that we've got the heel blocks on, we've got to nail them from the inside. Now, sometimes we use a tack hammer, which is one of these things right here. Okay? But since it's a boot, it's hard to reach that deep. So, several options. This is a heel wheel back here. Long story short, you put the nails in and then you turn the wheel, it pushes the shoe down with the nails that go into the heel. But the problem is this is a very narrow heel and that base is wide. Now they do have smaller ones for ladies, but I don't know where it is. So I'm going to show you guys how we hand nail these on there. Check this out. Okay, now this is a very heavy steel ball right here, right? The nail goes in here, slides through the tube. Now, you have to lift this up in order to clear the way for the nail to go into the main tube, okay? And then once the nail is in the main tube, you hammer it down, okay? Let's try it. A very cool tool. Put it in position, put the nail in the tube, side tube, lift it up, and it's in there. You see how high this is now? Because it's hitting on top of the nail. So slowly, and there she goes. Now you've got your heel blocks nailed in. Now I do have a pneumatic nailer, but again, the head of it is a little bit larger for a larger heel, and I just don't feel like changing them, taking them out, and put the smaller ladies version in. So, because it's not too many, I mean, you just have to put a couple of nails from the inside and it'll secure it pretty good. Now, because the nails aren't that long, the heel is higher, the nails are only 1 inch long. So what we're going to do is we're going to nail it from this end also. Okay? This way it's nailing from the inside and the outside. It's not going to go anywhere. That's it. That sucker's tight. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so let's take a look at the Prada. So basically, we're going to need to cut a one-piece rubber sole. And that's the rubber sole. This is called the skin pattern. Okay? Cut a somewhat of a piece of paper as a pattern. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this much right here. Just in the shank area to make it thinner. And we're going to draw a nice line right across the arch right here. Make it look like it's have print here and smooth on this side. Let me show you the other one. Not too bad. I would have had this line a little bit better than what it is now, but you know what? It's okay. I think it'll be alright. Much better than what it was, that's for dang sure. So now I'm going to sand this one, trim the edges a little bit, at least make this part right here, make it narrower, thinner to fit underneath the heel block. And then we'll go ahead and glue the rest, trim the edges, clean and polish, and we'll be done. Alright, let's continue. Alright, we are done. Let's take a look. Where's the product? Alright, not bad. Well, thank you once again for joining me. I appreciate you guys hanging out and watching my videos. As you can see, sometimes I need to do more than one pair because I get a little behind with work, and I figured, you know, if I can do 7, 8 pairs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pairs that we finished today. So I figured might as well. They're very similar in jobs, and I figured I can get them done at the same time. Oh, the prices range from $68 to $280. I forgot to tell you which one was which, but majority of the sole guards usually start at $80. And depending on how bad they are, sometimes they're a little bit more work, a little bit more money. Like the Christian Louboutin shoes, those were a lot more work than what I was supposed to do. Again, I do it just because I think that it looks better, it's good for the shoe. The customer loves her shoes, and why not make it last as many years as you can. Alright, so if you have any particular question about a repair, please email me, because sometimes I may not see your comment right away. That doesn't mean I'm ignoring you, okay? The address is below, betos@yahoo.com. Alright, we'll see you again next time. Take care.